Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Corey Connors. Today's guest is Mr. Jay Bolus, who is the VP of Sustainability at IPG Tape. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good. Thanks for taking time. We're a big fan here of paper tapes and all the things that you guys make, but tell us about yourself. How did you get into packaging?
Yeah, great question. So I'm actually a biochemist by training. Went to college.
Obviously.
Yeah. Had a degree in biochemistry, did some graduate work around environmental engineering. And then, oddly enough, I went and played pro tennis for a couple of years.
All
Has
right.
absolutely nothing to do with packaging or sustainability, mind you. But I did kind of have this interesting view on how other cultures deal with their environment and how this kind of global issue of sustainability is dealt with by folks. And I played in Africa, Southeast Asia, Europe, and US as well. So, coming back from a few years of doing that and clearly, not making any money, it was time to get a job. So I've always had a passion for sustainability, and I actually hooked up with a gentleman named William McDonough, who is kind of the father of green architecture, but also of sustainable product design. And so I worked with him at a company called MBDC for 20 plus years. Really, this was in the late 90s. We were sort of pioneers in the sustainability area. Worked with him on creating the cradle to cradle protocol and paradigm. And in the course of my consulting, IPG became a client. And so it was one of those where I was like, well, maybe it's time to get out of the consulting world and actually work for a company. And what convinced me was that they were really committed. I think from Greg Gildy, CEO, on down, very committed to sustainability, and packaging plays a really important role in a sustainable world. So it seemed like a nice fit for me. I had done a lot of packaging work with other clients as part of my MBDC job and world. So the stars kind of aligned, and I went to IPG, and the rest is history, as they say.
That's a really cool background, and what a neat opportunity to get to travel the world as a youngster.
Absolutely.
Or I should say, a young man. That's not easy to be a professional athlete in any sport. So well done.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I must say, I'm so glad I did it.
Do you have a memory from that really sticks in your mind? Like, wow, this was a cool experience. I'm glad I got to do that.
Yeah, in a few places, Malaysia in particular, athletes are well, not like that's not the case here in the U.S., but certainly there, athletes are treated really, really well. But it's much more of a personal kind of interaction. So, for example, one of the cities we were playing at, I don't know if you call them the mayor or whatever the head of the city was in that particular region, invited us all over for dinner. And had this, had this big, sort of banquet thing for all the players that were in this tournament, and met us all individually and spent time chatting with us. And there were a lot of those kinds of interactions with the fans and with the local people in the communities. Sort of very different from I think what you see here a lot of times.
How fun! What a neat opportunity.
Yeah,
and maybe someday we'll be treated like that as packaging professionals as well. Right?
Let's hope. We can hope.
Someday. Well, tell us about IPG Tape. What's going on there?
Yeah, so as I said, we're really committed to sustainability, and we've got options in the tape space, hopefully, that will meet all of our customers' needs, whether you want a paper tape, pressure sensitive flat back, or a water activated tape, or your more traditional plastic carton sealing tapes. We're working on all of them to make them more sustainable, and it's obviously more challenging with the plastic ones than certainly the paper. I think Watt is probably our leading product in the quote unquote sustainable tape space, because it is paper based, it is repulpable, it is recyclable with the cartons on which it's applied.
Watt is short for water activated
Water activated tape. Sorry, I'm probably going to throw a lot of acronyms out there, but
no, I know what it means, but I want to make sure that everybody listening knows what we're talking about, because this is an education based podcast, and it's critical that we're all on the same page. And
sure.
So I have a couple of myths I'd like you to bust or maybe hold up as tape. Tape is often discussed in a way where people are confused. So, number one, is water activated tape, the paper tape, recyclable with the box?
Yes, absolutely. And it actually contributes to the reclaimed fiber stream when you do recycle the box and tape together.
Even with the strings, the reinforcement strings, does that cause any issues with recycling?
Yeah, no, great question. And no, typically those strings are removed. When the box and tape go back to the paper mill and they get all ground up and processed, those things tend to get screened out. So they don't really interfere.
And it's usually a nylon string, is that right?
Ours are polyester and
Polyester.
or fiberglass. Those are the two.
So just for the audience, what I'm talking about is when you look at some tapes, some paper tapes, it has like a crisscross pattern, and that's
Exactly.
like for really heavy duty stuff, and it's a reinforcement to make it even stronger. And oftentimes people say, well, that's not recyclable, and it sounds like it is, but it will get screened out, like you said.
Right, right.
So,
and in an ideal world, that reinforcement would then somehow get collected and reprocessed as well, because it is being separated from the tape. So we're not there yet, but maybe we'll get there.
excellent. And then I guess the next question there is, what about acrylic or hot melt tapes? Do those affect the recyclability of a corrugated box?
Yeah, that's a great question. They don't affect the recyclability, as again, those will get removed at the paper mills when they're recycling the boxes. But unlike the water activated tape, they won't contribute anything beneficial to that fiber stream coming out. So unfortunately, they will get screened off and disposed of.
It's good to hear that I'm telling people the right things, because that's what I've been saying. I've been saying that for a long time. So good. That's good news. You've confirmed that boxes are recyclable. You don't have to take the tape off.
Correct.
The process of recycling will remove that automatically. So that's wonderful. Right. Well, tell us about the sustainability of IPG tape. What kinds of things are you guys working on that makes you a little bit better?
So, I mentioned in my previous life working with Bill McDonough around the cradle to cradle design program, right? So that's something I brought to IPG as a consultant, and something that we've really taken to heart. So for people that aren't aware of what cradle to cradle is, there's kind of 5 pillars that support it. The first one deals with materials and using safe and healthy materials. The second one is around circularity and, how do we recycle or use recycled content? The third is around powering with clean renewable energy. The fourth pillar is around water stewardship. I mean, water is a fundamental human right, so we got to protect it, right? And then the fifth pillar deals with social fairness. And so if you think about it, really what you have is you have material specific questions being asked, you have process specific questions being asked, and then you have corporate supply chain questions being asked. So our governance structure at IPG around sustainability mirrors that perfectly. We have teams set up, which we call sustainable value networks, or SVNs. And each SVN takes one of those aspects of cradle to cradle and is responsible for playing that out inside the organization. And the other thing about cradle to cradle that's cool is it's a product certification program. I think probably the most robust multi-attribute certification program out there today. So we have some corporate goals to get 75% of our products cradle to cradle certified at some level by 2025. Wow. Yeah, so we're about 50% of the way there. So we've got some work to do, but I think it indicates to our customers that, hey, we're serious about this, because with cradle to cradle certification, you've got to commit to continuous improvement. You can't just get certified and say, hey, I'm done, my product's as good as it's going to get, right? This continuous improvement idea is baked into it. So, our customers know that we're committed to this idea of making the products better and more sustainable over time. So that's kind of been a big push for us at IPG, and I think it makes us unique, certainly, in the industry.
Oh, I totally agree. And I wanted to talk to you about paper tape, just the massive increase in demand for paper tape over the last couple of years. What do you think the causes of that were?
So you know what? I think I'm going to quote Einstein. I'm probably going to botch it, but basically, he said, facts are facts, but perception's reality, right? And so right now, public enemy number one is plastic. You don't have to look far to see that and understand that, and that's just not in the U.S. That's globally. So I think that is driving a lot of this shift from plastic tapes to paper tapes, and we're seeing in other areas too. Void fill, bubble wrap, all those kinds of things. We're seeing that subtle shift to paper-based alternatives.
And IPG, what does IPG stand for?
So that stands for Intertape Polymer Group.
Okay, so that's interesting that you guys in the industry are known for paper tape when your name of your company is basically plastic.
Right. So, no, it's funny.
And that's, 20 years I've been doing this in this industry, or at least with Landsberg, and you guys are synonymous with paper tape. So that's
Right.
well done.
Thank you.
Good branding, and you're definitely doing good things. I've noticed a lot of companies using more printed paper tape. Are you seeing that as well?
Yes, yes. And that is one of the advantages also of using the water activated paper tape, is that there is the flexibility to print any kind of corporate message, branding message, even put some security stuff on there, right? So you know whether it's been tampered with. So
And a lot more sustainable to shift from, or to get rid of, I should say, a bunch of printed boxes than it is one case of tape, So
exactly.
I like this idea of, as from a sustainability initiative, to make your branding on your tape rather than on your corrugated boxes. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and then there's a lot less waste. So
For sure.
well, what else is going on? What can companies do to be more sustainable with their packaging?
Oh, that's how much time do we have?
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe give us 3 tips. What,
yeah, well,
things that you think are kind of go to.
I think, first of all, making packaging more of a priority. It's always been an afterthought. And this was true before I started working for IPG. I saw it a lot in my other life of consulting with CPGs or other companies that never even thought about the packaging. It's like, does it hold my product? Does it work? Does it do what I need it to do? Okay, I'm fine. I think, looking at it the same way you look at the product that's inside the package, I think is really important. And, from an overall sustainability perspective, what we try to do with everything we make at IPG is safe and circular. That's kind of our mantra, if you will, or, the battle cry, right? Safe
Yeah.
and circular. You hear a lot about circular economy. Oh, we have to make things more circular. That's fine, but what if the stuff's toxic to begin with? What if it's PVC or some of these things that are harmful to people and the environment? If you circulate them, you're retoxifying. So let's start with the materials that we know are safe, and then let's work on making them circular. So I would say focus on your packaging for sure. Give it a priority and understand what it is. Are you using PVC shrink wrap or PVC films or corrugated cartons? That's great. What's the recycled content of those? Can you increase the recycled content, or is the virgin stuff FSC or SFI or have a forestry certification? That's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, those certifications are a big deal with paper. And is that something you look for when you're purchasing raw materials to make your products?
So we are trying to figure out a strategy for how we get more certified paper and forestry products into our products. Absolutely. I mean, I'm just from a personal perspective, forests are a really important thing to me, and I think they are globally too, right? I mean, you talk about biodiversity and carbon sequestration and all of those other things. So keeping our forests healthy and strong are really, really important. And the best way to do that is to source sustainably sourced fibers and forest products.
Absolutely, and it's well done. We've researched this quite a bit, and the FSC paper is well managed. They're doing a good job with it. They're planting 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Every tree that's harvested gets 10
Yep.
10 new trees in its place, and that, to me, it's a very, it's a good system. So
yeah, I completely agree.
So anything else that you wanted to tell us about IPG? Anything new coming out or exciting?
So yeah, actually we have a whole new family of, since I've been talking about paper products that are curbside recyclable. So we've named them Kirby, CURBY, right?
I like that.
And so that includes padded mailers to replace the plastic bubble mailers. The water activated tape is now sort of part of that Kirby family. We've got really cool paper fragile wrap to replace bubble wrap. It's kind of this honeycomb structure that does really well in protecting fragile items when you're shipping them. All these things curbside recyclable. Some are actually made with recycled content paper. We're trying to get more of that in, but sometimes the performance requirements dictate we've got to use virgin. And in that case, let's look for some of these certified papers, as a way to make sure the forests are being managed appropriately.
That's a great point, really. And I think that's something I haven't talked about too much on this podcast is virgin paper can sometimes be, or oftentimes be, more sustainable because you can use less of it. When you're
Exactly.
using a high post-consumer recycled content for paper, for corrugated, for these materials that we're looking at, oftentimes you have to make it so thick or even double wall for corrugated that it negates the advancement of the fact that it's recycled.
Exactly. Exactly. You know what? There's always going to be a needed demand for virgin paper, and that's okay if we're doing it from sustainably managed forests. That it's a little bit counterintuitive, right? But the best way to keep the forests healthy and strong is to keep demand for those products high, but make sure the forests are appropriately managed. That way that, the owners aren't tempted to convert it to a, golf course or shopping mall or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a very renewable resource, and it supports a lot of, great jobs and all the positive things there.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. What's the best way for us to get in touch with you and IPG?
So our website, www.itape.com. We've got a special sustainability page on our website. And actually, I do want to say that our 2021 sustainability report will be coming out shortly. So watch out for that, because there's some pretty cool stuff there. And my email is jbolus@itape.com. So feel free to reach out. It's initial J, last name Bolus @itape.com.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate this, Jay.
You are very welcome. My pleasure.
I'd like to thank Landsberg Aurora for sponsoring this podcast. And if you're listening, make sure you give us a review and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you so much.